I'm really on one today, so let's dive in and do another tutorial focusing on watercolor trees. I'm going to simplify them though, because you're capable of doing this. This is my demo paper, so ignore the eggplants, but I'm going to start with a simple sketch. For this tree in particular, the light is going to be coming this way. So remember, for watercolor, your first layer is your brightest brights. So I'm going to dive in with a really sun-kissed green is what I would call this. Lots of water because we want this to be pretty faint at this point. And then slowly just lay in some organic shapes. And don't be afraid to just use the side of your brush, the tip of your brush, and just go with it. I've cleaned off my brush, so now I'm just gonna add some water because I want to tone down this color just a little bit. I want it to be a little lighter, but still just pushing these organic shapes. Do not be afraid to use the water. You're not painting with a dry paint. The water is your friend. The water is when you have control. I want to pick up some paint, so all I do is dry off my brush, and then I just pick up paint. And this is what I mean by you still have control while it's wet. Once it dries, it dries. There's no going back. So keep it wet, and then you have control. So I'm just picking up some pigment because I want this to be just a little lighter. So now while this is still wet, I'm gonna start adding in my shadows. So I made a new green with some red in it because that's the complement. You don't want any stoplight green in this because that green does not exist. I'll even grab some red and throw it in there and then let these colors really mingle and get to know each other. Still working on those shadow shapes while this is still wet. I threw in some more red, and now I'm throwing in some blue because shadows tend to be on the cooler side. And remember, our light is coming from up here. So we're putting shadows down here, and there's still shadows up here too. So just think about how trees work, and if you're working from a reference photo, really absorb what is going on. Squint your eyes. It'll help you see the shadow shapes a lot better and simplify the tree. Now I'm still working while it's wet. I have not dried this yet, nor have I let it dry. So just dropping in colors, dropping in shadows, really letting the watercolor do its job. But I'm about to dry it, and then we'll do another layer and add the chunk. So our first wash is done and dry. So now I'm gonna go in with my darkest darks and really carve out this shadow. I want most of these edges to be crispy, but I'm just gonna soften a couple. So now our tree has a real sense of volume. So let's add a trunk. All right, that was my little tree tutorial. I hope this helped. Let me know if you have any questions.